You ever hear a laugh that makes your blood run cold? Mine came through the phone speaker while I was sitting at my office desk, sipping stale coffee and pretending to care about quarterly reports. My wife, Vanessa, the woman I married 7 years ago, was calling me from the first-class cabin of a transatlantic flight. "Babe," she giggled, her voice honeyed and high on champagne. "First class is so worth it. They even give you warm towels for your hands. Isn't that crazy?" I stared at the screen. Her location read 35,000 feet above the Atlantic Ocean. "Where are you going?" I asked, my voice flat. I already knew the answer. I just wanted to hear the lie. She giggled again. "Spa retreat in Santorini with the girls. You know, detox and girl time. Don't worry, babe. I used your platinum card like you said I could. You're the best husband ever." She laughed again. This time, someone in the background laughed too. A man. Deep, confident. Not a friend. Not a flight attendant. A boyfriend. And I saw red. My mind spun back through the last 3 months, her late-night yoga classes, the hidden perfume that wasn't hers, the sudden passwords on devices she used to leave open, the cold shoulder, the way she stopped touching me at night like I was some kind of burden she was stuck with. I didn't scream, didn't cry. I just smiled. "That's funny," I said slowly, "because I canceled that card 3 hours ago. You should be getting the notification any second now." She paused. I heard a chime in the background, maybe her phone, maybe her boarding screen. The champagne laughter stopped. What did you just say?" I said, "Enjoy your flight, sweetheart. Drinks are on you now." Then I hung up. It was that laugh that did it. That condescending, smug little snicker that said she thought I was too dumb to notice, too soft to fight back. And I had been for too long. I'd played the doting husband while she played me for a clown. I leaned back in my chair, fingers steepled under my chin, and for the first time in months, I actually felt something other than confusion or pain. I felt alive. Let me tell you how we got here, because this wasn't sudden. Vanessa didn't just wake up one day and decide to spit on everything we built together. No, it was slow, calculated. She's the type who plants her betrayal like a seed, waters it with lies, and waits for it to bloom behind your back. She didn't even bother to hide the dirt under her nails. The first time I felt it, it was the silence. You know how you can sit with someone you love and say nothing, and it feels full? Not with Vanessa. The silence started to feel like a wall. She was somewhere else. Somewhere I couldn't follow. Somewhere I wasn't invited. The second time, it was the smell. She came home one night wearing a cologne I didn't own. Masculine. Subtle. Expensive. She claimed it was her Uber driver's scent. She even rolled her eyes like I was being ridiculous. "You're paranoid," she said. "You need to relax." Funny thing, though, I found the same scent on her pillow 2 nights later. But I let it go. Because that's what good husbands do, right? You trust. You wait. You give her the benefit of the doubt while she gives someone else your time, your attention, your dignity. And now? Now she was sitting next to some alpha wannabe in first class, sipping mimosas on my dime, laughing like this was some rom-com and I was the sad sap left behind. Only it's not a rom-com. It's a reckoning. And this is only the beginning. You want to know what hurts the most? It's not the betrayal itself, it's how casually she did it. Like I didn't matter. Like our marriage was some old pair of shoes she was waiting to throw out once she found newer heels. Well, newsflash, Vanessa. I'm not the one being thrown out. You are. And when you land, oh, sweetheart, when you land, your boyfriend won't be able to cover the hotel, the car rental, the 5-star suite you booked. And when you call me back, I won't answer, but I'll be watching. And that's when the real fun begins. The first thing I did after hanging up wasn't rage. It wasn't pacing or crying or smashing things like some heartbroken chump in a movie. I just sat there, staring at the empty space where her face used to mean something to me. That face used to make me feel like the luckiest man alive. Now it made me feel like a damn fool. I opened my laptop and started gathering emails, phone records, credit card statements. She was lazy, so arrogant she didn't even try to cover her tracks. The spa in Santorini didn't exist. Not the way she described it. It was a cover, something she scribbled on top of the real transaction. The hotel she booked was a luxury couples resort, not some detox hut for the girls. I scrolled through the guest list of that resort. Her name was there. And next to hers? Logan D. Reeve, 34. Works in business consulting. The new title for guy who wears loafers without socks and thinks commitment is a suggestion. My fingers twitched. That was the name I saw on one of her Uber receipts 2 weeks ago. I remembered because it stood out. She said it was an old coworker giving her a lift. Nah, it was the same guy. She had been slipping this guy into our life like poison in morning coffee, slow enough I wouldn't taste it, strong enough to kill everything good we had. I closed the laptop. My jaw was clenched so tight it hurt. You want to know the worst part? I still wanted to believe I was wrong. That somehow I misunderstood. That maybe, just maybe, Vanessa was redeemable. That the woman I proposed to under fireworks in Key West wasn't capable of this. But the truth was right there, choking me like thick smoke in a house fire. I could either sit in the flames or walk out and never look back. Then my phone buzzed. It was her. Of course it was. I let it ring. Then I answered, holding the phone just far enough from my ear to hear her voice, but not close enough to feel her poison touch me. What the hell is wrong with you? She shrieked. No more giggling now. They just cut my card, and we're stuck in Zurich. Logan had to call his ex-wife to wire us money. I smiled. It felt cold. Heavy. Zurich. I said. That's not Santorini. Did the spa move, sweetheart? She went quiet. The kind of silence that screams guilt. Then came the lie. I told you, Logan's here for a business seminar. I tagged along. It's just cheaper to book together. Don't twist things, Caleb. Twist things? I took a breath so I wouldn't say something I'd regret. Not because she deserved restraint, but because I wanted her to know every single word that followed would be measured. Final. Surgical. You used my card to fly first class with your boyfriend. You called me laughing. And now you want to play innocent? Vanessa, you can't even keep your lies straight anymore. He's not my boyfriend, she spat. He's just someone who listens. Someone who makes me feel seen. You haven't looked at me in months. You're always working. You don't touch me anymore. What did you expect? There it was. The classic deflection. It wasn't her betrayal, it was my failure. As if working to pay for her designer bags, facials, yoga retreats, and girls' nights somehow made me the villain. You know what I expected? I said. Loyalty. Respect. Maybe just enough decency not to F*** someone on my dime while pretending you're at a spa. She scoffed. Scoffed. You're being dramatic, she said. I didn't even do anything with him. That word. Even. It meant she thought about it. Measured it. Probably planned it. Maybe didn't go through with it this time, but the blueprint was already written. I hung up. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't scream. I just tapped end and stared at the wall. That was the moment it hit me. She wasn't sorry. Not for cheating. Not for lying. Not for making me feel like a ghost in my own home. She was sorry she got caught. Sorry her little fantasy trip blew up mid-flight. Sorry I wasn't stupid enough to keep funding her little adventure with Mr. No Socks. I stood up, went to the closet, and pulled down the small safe tucked behind my suits. Inside it was a folder. I hadn't touched it in years. Our prenup. We signed it when things were good, when love was real and futures felt solid. Now it was the rope I was going to use to drag her out of my life. She didn't get half. She didn't even get a quarter. She didn't read the fine print. But I did. And soon, she would too. I didn't sleep that night. I laid in bed, staring at the ceiling fan spinning above me, listening to the silence that used to be comforting. Now it just mocked me. Every time that fan spun, it felt like a reminder she played me, and I let her. My phone lit up at 3:17 a.m. Vanessa again. No voicemail. Just a text this time. We need to talk. I'm sorry things got out of hand. Out of hand? Like it was a party that went a little too wild, not full-blown betrayal. I ignored it. At 3:26, another ping. You're overreacting. It's not like we did anything serious. Then 3:41. Fine. If this is how you're gonna be, maybe we should talk about divorce. There it was. The venom. She couldn't manipulate me with guilt. So now she was swinging the other way, blame, threats, false indifference. Classic Vanessa. She had two modes, sweet and savage. No in between. But I didn't reply. I wasn't going to feed her little drama script. I had other plans. By morning, I was already at my lawyer's office. I slid the prenup folder across the table. Mr. Hayden, gray-haired and sharp-eyed, opened it, scanned a few pages, and gave a small satisfied nod. She doesn't get the house. No stake in your company. The platinum card was under your name. You're covered. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. I want it done fast, I said. No room for games. He tapped the papers. With this document? She's outplayed, son. Just sign here. I'll serve her before she even lands. And that's what we did. By lunchtime, the wheels were in motion. Around 4 p.m., Vanessa tried calling again. I watched the phone ring. There was a strange satisfaction in not answering. For the first time in years, I had power. Not control power. The kind she thought I'd never find. At 6:03 p.m., she finally left a voicemail. I played it on speaker. Caleb, okay. I'm sorry. I messed up. I was stupid. I didn't think you'd find out. It didn't mean anything. I was just lost. I needed to feel something again. I swear, Logan doesn't matter. Lie. He's not even here anymore, she continued. We fought. He left this morning. Please don't make any rash decisions. I'm coming home tomorrow. Can we just talk? I didn't even flinch. She was spiraling, and it was only going to get worse. Because while she was trying to manage the fallout, I was one step ahead. I'd already cleared out the joint account, froze her cards, changed the house locks, and maybe the most satisfying of all, I'd sent her boss a copy of the private messages she'd written about working from home while actually being out of the country with another man. HR didn't take kindly to fake sick days, especially not when they came with bikini selfies from Greek resorts. She thought she was smart, but she underestimated the quiet guy, the boring husband who didn't ask too many questions. She forgot boring doesn't mean blind. And when she walked through the door the next day, suitcase in hand, wearing sunglasses to cover whatever mess her face had become, I was ready. Why are there 2 locks on the door? She said, annoyed, knocking like she still had rights. I opened it just enough to meet her eyes. You don't live here anymore, I said. Her face dropped. What the hell are you talking about? You'll find out. Check your inbox. I closed the door in her stunned face. But I watched through the peephole. She stood there for a full minute, then checked her phone. Boom. There it was, the email from Hayden and Associates. Subject line, notice of divorce proceedings. She started banging on the door like a wild animal. Are you serious? After everything? You're just gonna throw us away? Like I didn't give you the best years of my life. I didn't even respond. I didn't need to. She left eventually, but not before kicking over one of the potted plants and screaming something about, you'll regret this. I didn't. Not even for a second. Later that night, I poured myself a whiskey, sat on the balcony, let the night air hit my face. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt peace. But this wasn't over. Vanessa was vindictive. She didn't lose well. I knew she'd try something stupid. I just didn't expect how fast it would come. It started the next morning. I woke up to 43 missed calls, 12 voicemails, a dozen more texts, some apologizing, some threatening, others full-on delusional. Then came the notification from my company's HR department. Apparently, someone had sent them anonymously altered screenshots of emails that painted me as some kind of toxic, manipulative boss. The kind of stuff that gets you canceled in a headline. Claims that I emotionally abused my wife, controlled her finances, and ruined her mental health. I stared at the email in disbelief. This was her plan? Take me down because she couldn't bleed me dry in divorce court? HR called it serious, but they'd seen my record. They knew it didn't line up. Still, they had to investigate, which meant she'd bought herself just enough chaos to keep me spinning. She wanted to shake the ground under me, make me unstable, get me to panic, maybe even reach out and beg for a truce. Not gonna happen. I knew Vanessa's style. If she couldn't win with lies, she'd try sympathy. If that failed, she'd go full scorched earth. Later that day, a delivery arrived at my door. A box with no sender name. Inside, a neatly folded hoodie of mine, some old movie tickets from our first date, and a handwritten letter. It read, "You're not innocent in this either." I felt invisible for a long time. Maybe if you had just looked at me more instead of your damn laptop, I wouldn't have felt so alone. Maybe Logan wouldn't have looked so tempting. Maybe this could have been different. But you chose your ambition, Caleb. I chose to be seen. Now we both have to live with that. I held the letter in my hand, feeling every word like a slap. This wasn't an apology. This was her rewriting history to make betrayal look like a reaction, like I pushed her into someone else's arms. That's what she always did. Sin boldly, then blame you for the bruise. But something about the last line stuck with me. Now we both have to live with that. She was trying to equalize this. Like we were both at fault. But I wasn't the one flying first class with a guy she met at a networking event and later let climb into our bed while I was out of town for business. Yeah, I found that out too. I'd hired a PI. Old school guy. Discreet. Efficient. And he delivered. Photos. Dates. Hotel check-ins. One that hit me right in the gut. Logan leaving our front door, in the middle of the afternoon, a full week before the Santorini trip. He didn't just share her seat on a plane. He'd been in my home, probably drank from my glass, maybe even smiled in my mirror. It made me sick. I drove to the nearest gym, needed to hit something that wouldn't sue me. I pummeled a heavy bag until my knuckles ached, until sweat blurred my vision, until I could finally breathe again. And when I sat down, heart pounding, fist shaking, I didn't feel broken. I felt ready to be done with this version of my life. Ready to burn the bridges she poisoned and never look back. But she wasn't done yet. Because that night, she posted on Instagram a selfie, crying. Caption: "Some people only love you when you're perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm human, but I still deserve love." The comments flooded in. Her friends, strangers, sympathy emojis. "You'll get through this, babe. He didn't deserve you anyway." And just like that, she was the victim. The brave, heartbroken woman who'd been mistreated and abandoned. She was building her next stage, the pity play. She didn't care if it was true, as long as it got her attention. Applause. A new man, maybe. Someone who didn't know how she could rip your soul out while wearing a smile. But I wasn't going to respond. Not online. Not in her comments. Not even to mutual friends asking what really happened. I let her have her show. But behind the scenes, I was filing the final paperwork. And I was getting ready to drop the one thing she never saw coming. The thing that would silence every lie she told. Because there was one video on the PI's flash drive that I hadn't watched yet. I didn't want to, but I knew I had to. I clicked play, and everything changed. The camera was hidden in a lamp, grainy black and white footage, timestamped 3 weeks before the flight. My bedroom. Our bed. My space. She didn't know I had installed it. I hadn't meant to use it for anything like this. It was originally there because we'd had a break-in scare. But I never took it down. And now, there it was. Vanessa. With Logan. Not touching it first. Just sitting. Close. She was laughing, but not the fake laugh she gave me. This one was soft, genuine, the kind that made her eyes wrinkle just a little at the corners. The one I hadn't seen in years. He leaned in. Said something I couldn't hear. She touched his knee. Slowly. Then they kissed. Long. Deliberate. Not the kiss of two people caught in a mistake. It was the kiss of people who felt entitled to what they were doing. Like they deserved it. Like they'd earned the right to sit on my bed and enjoy each other while I was probably 10 minutes away, stuck in traffic or buying groceries for her. She stood up, unzipped her dress, that dress. The one she wore on our anniversary last year. The one she begged me to buy her after pretending it was on sale when I knew it wasn't. She wore that thing for him. And what followed? No, they didn't just lie there and cuddle. It was fast, desperate, raw. And it didn't belong to me anymore. That room, that bed, that woman, it all became part of something else. Something dirtier than I imagined. Colder than betrayal. It was possession. She didn't just cheat, she let go of everything we were. And she didn't flinch. She moaned his name. Twice. I didn't even realize my fists were clenched until I felt my nails digging into my palms. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, staring at the screen, as everything inside me went quiet. That was the moment the switch flipped. I knew then, I didn't just want her gone. I wanted her erased. Not in the vindictive, movie villain way. I wasn't going to key her car or slash her tires. But I was going to make damn sure that every single benefit she ever got from being Mrs. Caleb Warren vanished. Gone were the credit lines, the luxury gym membership, the business contacts I helped her cozy up to. I even called her modeling agency and let them know, in the kindest way possible, that one of their talents might be tangled up in legal and financial matters in the coming weeks. They dropped her before dinner. Everything was falling into place. And yet, she still didn't know I had the video. She was still out there playing victim. The next day, she showed up at my office. Security called ahead. She says she's your wife. Not anymore, I said. I let her come up. She walked in wearing all white. Probably some symbolism about purity or a fresh start. I couldn't even look her in the eye without wanting to laugh. She sat across from my desk like we were going to talk about brunch plans. I miss you, she said softly. I made a mistake. I nodded. Yeah, a mistake you made more than once. With him. In my bed. Her face froze. I leaned forward. I saw the video, Vanessa. She didn't even ask what video. Her lips parted, and I watched all the color drain from her face. That was Caleb. I didn't know you were recording us. You didn't. But you sure didn't mind being recorded by him, did you? Her mouth clamped shut. I could see the calculation happening behind her eyes, how to spin it, how to twist the narrative, how to make me the bad guy for finding out. She stood, tried to regain control. If you share that video, I'll call the cops. That's illegal surveillance. I smiled. It was my house, my property. And don't worry, I'm not sharing it. I don't need to. Just knowing I have it is enough. She tried to speak again, but I waved her off. This conversation's over. You can leave now. And next time you want to ruin someone, try not to underestimate the guy who built your whole life from scratch. She walked out slower than she came in, less confident, less smug. And as the elevator doors closed behind her, I felt something lift from my chest. Like I could finally breathe again. Like I was finally free. But she still had one card left to play. And when she played it, she came for blood. 3 days later, I got a knock on the door. Not aggressive, just firm. The kind that says, "You're not gonna like this." I opened it to find 2 officers standing there. One male, one female. Serious faces. No small talk. "Caleb Warren?" the male officer asked. "Yes. We've received a report of domestic abuse and financial coercion. We'd like you to come with us for a few questions." It hit me like a bat to the chest. "Vanessa." I didn't say a word. I just grabbed my coat, locked the door, and went with them. Because I knew better than to argue on the doorstep. The female officer barely made eye contact. The male kept glancing at my hands like I might snap at any moment. The station was cold, sterile. They sat me down, asked questions like they were pulling teeth, slow, careful, waiting for contradictions. "Did you ever restrict her access to shared funds?" "She had a card. She maxed it out." "Did you monitor her communications?" "She used my laptop. I have every right to see what's on my device." "Did you ever physically threaten her?" "No. Never touched her in anger. Ever." They jotted everything down, stone-faced. I could see the wheels turning. They weren't sure what to believe. Vanessa was smart. She knew how to play the fragile wife, how to weaponize her tears and bruised ego. And I had no visible wounds, no shattered glass to point at, no public meltdowns. Just a calm, angry man with a folder of evidence no one had asked for, yet. They let me go after 3 hours. No charges. No arrest. Just a polite warning. "You may want to speak to an attorney." I already had. Hayden was waiting at my house with whiskey and an envelope. "She filed a restraining order," he said without blinking. "Claimed you're unpredictable, possibly violent, financially abusive. She's building a case." I laughed. Actually laughed. The sound came out broken and ugly. She cheated, stole, and lied. And I'm the threat. Hayden didn't laugh. He just opened the envelope. Inside were copies of her claim. Screenshots she'd fabricated. Text threads she'd doctored. Audio recordings spliced together to sound like I was shouting, when in reality, I never raised my voice. "She's not trying to win a divorce," he said. "She's trying to ruin you." I nodded. "Then let's ruin her first." That night, I made a decision. I wasn't just going to survive this. I was going to dismantle every lie, every false tear, every manipulative post she made. And I wasn't going to do it with drama or rage. I was going to do it with truth. The next day, I uploaded the unedited security footage, not to the internet, not to the press, just to a private drive, linked directly to my legal team, her employer, and her mother. Yeah, her mother. Because the one person Vanessa couldn't manipulate was the woman who raised her and who warned me about her years ago. "I love my daughter," her mother once told me. "But she's dangerous when she's bored. Don't let her get bored, Caleb." Well, guess what? She got bored. And now she was about to find out what happens when a man she thought was safe decides he's done being a doormat. I started documenting everything. Every message. Every call. Every visit attempt. I installed cameras inside and outside the house. Had every lawyered upward timestamped and archived. And I waited. I didn't have to wait long. She showed up again. This time in the middle of the night. Banging on the door. Crying. Screaming. "You're destroying me," she yelled. "You're turning everyone against me." I stayed behind the camera feed. Watch her unravel. "You said you'd love me no matter what." She stumbled. Drunk. Mascara running. That's when I stepped outside. Calm. Quiet. I said 4 words. "You already destroyed yourself." She stared at me, trembling. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. And then she dropped to her knees. She actually begged. "I made a mistake," she whispered. "I thought he was different. But he left. I don't have anyone now." "That's not my problem," I said. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. And I shut the door. Behind me, silence. In front of me, closure. But the final chapter hadn't been written yet. Because Vanessa had one last move, and I had one final answer. 2 weeks passed. Peace tried to creep back in quiet mornings, no screaming calls, no drama flooding my inbox. I spent most days rebuilding. Routines. Habits. My sense of self. The house felt like mine again, not a place where I constantly wondered who she was texting in the next room. I was starting to breathe like a real human again. Then came the envelope. No postage. Hand-delivered. Thick. Heavy. It was waiting for me on my doorstep when I got home from work. No name. Just a smudge of lipstick on the seal, a cheap red, the kind Vanessa wore when she was trying to prove something. Inside? Photos. Dozens of them. Me. At work. At the gym. At the grocery store. Zoomed in shots through restaurant windows. My face half lit by headlights as I left my office late at night. Me talking to my lawyer. Me jogging at dawn. And on the back of every photo? Little notes. He's lying to you. Ask him what happened in Chicago, 2019. Do you really know him? It was insane. Creepy. Obsessive. And it told me one thing loud and clear. Vanessa had snapped. She wasn't just trying to ruin me now, she was trying to make me question myself. Dig up anything, real or twisted, that could tarnish my name. I grabbed the last photo. A shot of me and my sister, Lily, outside her condo. Vanessa had scribbled, "You sure she's just your sister?" That was it. I called Hayden. "She's tailing me," I said. He sighed. "She's going feral. We'll file harassment charges. But if you want this to stop, you need to take away her audience." "What do you mean?" "She lives off the attention. You've cut the money. Now cut the stage." That's when the idea hit me. She wanted a spotlight? Fine. Let's shine it on her. Just once. Bright and blinding. I made a post. One photo. No caption. Just a frame from the security footage, Vanessa and Logan, mid-kiss, in my bedroom. Then I tagged her. And I waited. The internet did what it does best. People who'd rallied to her side began deleting their sympathy comments. Her modeling agency cut ties officially. Even the mutual friends who'd once tried to stay neutral started texting me. "Dude, I had no idea. She said you were controlling her. She's insane." I'm sorry I believed her. Vanessa went silent. Her Instagram vanished. Her phone went dead. And just like that, she disappeared from the public scene she used to dominate. But she wasn't done behind the curtain. 2 days later, she showed up at Lily's place. Yes, my sister's. Lily called me immediately. She's outside in the rain, barefoot, crying. Says she needs to talk to you. Says she's pregnant. My blood ran cold. No. No way. She says it's yours. Of course she did. Of course that would be her last card. Her nuclear option. I drove over. Pulled up next to the curb and saw her. Hair soaked, mascara smeared, stomach completely flat under a soaked t-shirt. No emotion. No shame. Just performance. I didn't get out of the car. I rolled the window down an inch. "If you're pregnant," I said, "get a test. I'll cover the clinic." She stepped toward the car. I drove off. No yelling. No closure speech. I'd already given her everything I had. My love. My patience. My trust. My credit. My name. I wasn't giving her my silence, too. Because that's what she really wanted now. To drag me back into her story. To make me the villain in a new chapter. But that chapter never got written. She left town 2 weeks later. Her mother texted me. She's with her cousin in Oregon. Says she needs space. I think she finally hit her bottom. I didn't respond. I didn't care. The truth was, I wasn't angry anymore. I was clean. Burned, yes. But clean. If you're reading this and you're in a similar place, let me tell you something. When someone shows you who they really are, don't blink. Don't rationalize. Don't chase. Don't play their game. Just walk away. Let them drown in the lies they built. You keep walking. There's nothing behind you worth turning around for. Months passed. The noise faded. The call stopped. Her name disappeared from my phone, my feed, my thoughts. Slowly, piece by piece, I reclaimed the space she once infected until her presence became nothing more than a stain that had been cleaned, not forgotten, just neutralized. I changed jobs. Sold the house. Moved to a quieter part of the city. A place with clean air, solid silence, and no echoes of her perfume in the hallway. The bed didn't feel haunted anymore. My reflection wasn't hollow. I woke up and actually wanted to face the day. One afternoon, I ran into an old friend, someone who used to know both of us. She hesitated, eyes wide, like she wasn't sure if she should bring it up. But eventually she asked, "Do you ever think about her?" I didn't even need to lie. No. Because what would I think about? The way she weaponized affection? The way she laughed from first class while riding on the wreckage of my trust? The way she lied until the lies stacked up so high she couldn't breathe under them anymore? No. Vanessa wasn't a chapter in my life. She was a warning label. A sign that read, not everything that shines deserves to be held. I've learned that love without loyalty is just manipulation dressed in flowers. That being the nice guy doesn't mean tolerating cruelty. That silence isn't strength when it's protecting a lie. And most of all, I've learned that you don't owe anyone the softest parts of yourself after they've sharpened every edge of theirs. So if you're out there, reading this, sitting in the same darkness I once was, let go. Let the storm take her. Let the cards fall. And when the silence finally settles, stand up and rebuild the life she never thought you could live without her. I did. And it's better than anything I ever had with her.
My knees hit the pavement. My vision blurred. My hands trembled as I gripped the edge of the open trunk, staring at what my wife had left behind. This wasn't real. Couldn't be real. I felt the weight of my entire world crashing down, my breath coming in short, ragged gasps. My house was gone. My car was vandalized. My life shattered. But none of that compared to what was inside this trunk. It was a message, a sick, twisted final blow from the woman I had once loved. How did it get to this? Only days ago, I was just a husband, a fool who believed his wife was at a friend's birthday party. I even kissed her goodbye as she walked out in that tight dress, her perfume lingering in the air. But now I was a man staring at the truth in the back of a car. And there was no coming back from this. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. My mind screamed at me to look away, but my eyes stayed locked on the open trunk. Inside, neatly packed like some kind of final goodbye, were all my things. My clothes, my shoes, my watch, the one Vanessa gave me on our anniversary. Like a cruel joke. Everything that had once been in our home was now dumped here like garbage. But that wasn't the worst part. On top of my things, there was a single envelope. My name was scrawled across the front in her handwriting. The same handwriting that used to leave me sweet notes on the fridge. My fingers were stiff as I reached for it. My heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I tore it open, hands shaking. And then I read, Jake, I hope by now you understand that this wasn't personal. It was just necessary. You were never meant to find out like this, but I guess that's how life works. It moves forward whether you're ready or not. You've always been a good man, but we both know good isn't enough. Not for me, not for us. Dylan showed me what I was missing, and once I had it, I couldn't go back. You'll be fine. You always are. Vanessa. I stared at the words, reading them over and over like maybe if I did, they'd start to make sense. It wasn't personal, not personal. I lost everything. My home, my car, my wife, and she had the audacity to act like it was just a necessary step. I could feel something inside me breaking apart. Something dark. Something that had been patient for far too long. I looked around, my breath unsteady. The house, my house, was already occupied by strangers. The new owners, people I didn't even know, living in what used to be mine. My car, the one I worked my ass off to pay for, had cheating liars spray painted across the side. A final insult from the woman who had destroyed my life. I clenched the letter so hard my knuckles turned white. Vanessa had planned everything. She didn't just cheat. She didn't just lie. She erased me, sold the house, stole my savings, took everything and walked away without looking back. And I was supposed to just accept it? No, not this time. I stood up, my legs still shaky, but my mind clearer than it had been in weeks. My grief, my shock, my sadness. It all started to twist into something else. I was done being the guy who sat back and let life happen to him. Vanessa thought she had won. She thought she had tied everything up in a neat little bow, moved on with her new life while I was left picking up the pieces. She had no idea what was coming. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I never thought I'd need. The line rang twice before a deep voice answered. Detective Harris speaking. I exhaled slowly, my grip tightening around the letter. I need you to find someone for me. I clenched my jaw as the dial tone disappeared, replaced by the steady voice on the other end. Detective Harris speaking. I hadn't planned for this. Hell, a week ago, I didn't even know private detectives outside of movies and crime novels were even a real option. But now I had no other choice. I need you to find someone for me, I said, my voice cold, even stripped of all the raw emotion clawing at my chest. Who? I exhaled slowly, staring at the letter in my hands, my grip so tight I could have crushed it. Vanessa thought she had won. My wife, Vanessa Carter. She disappeared after selling our house, draining our accounts, and leaving me with nothing. I need to know where she is, and who helped her. There was silence for a moment, then a low hum from Harris. Messy situation, huh? You hiring me for a divorce case or something? More. I ignored the question. I just want answers. A dry chuckle. Yeah, they all do. Meet me tomorrow at 9 a.m. at Baxter's Diner. Bring cash. Click. I stood there for a moment, staring at the screen. My reflection in the cracked phone screen looked different, harder. The man I had been was gone. The search begins. Baxter's Diner wasn't a place for polite company. It smelled like burnt coffee and regret, filled with old men reading newspapers and people who looked like they were hiding from something. Detective Harris fit in like he belonged there. He was a broad-shouldered guy in his 50s, gray creeping into his beard, a weathered look in his eyes that told me he'd seen things, probably things worse than my situation. But right now, my life felt like the worst thing in the world. He gestured for me to sit as I slid into the booth across from him. I wasted no time. Vanessa Carter. She worked at Price and Young Marketing. Left town a few days ago. She's been cheating with a guy named Dylan Matthews. I need to know where she is now. Harris chewed his toothpick. Unimpressed. You got photos? Evidence? I slid my phone across the table, showing the messages I had found. Vanessa's filthy confessions. Her plans. Her betrayals. Everything. Harris raised a brow, whistling low. Damn. She really played you, huh? He glanced at me as if checking for a reaction. I didn't give him one. Can you find her or not? Yeah, I can find her. But it won't be cheap. Tracking people who don't want to be found never is. I don't care about the money. Because money wasn't the thing that mattered anymore. It was about answers. It was about revenge. All right then. Gimme a day or two. If she left breadcrumbs, I'll follow them. I nodded, standing to leave. But before I walked away, Harris spoke again. One last thing. What do you want to do when you find her? I paused, my hands curling into fists. I didn't know yet, but I sure as hell knew one thing. Vanessa wasn't getting away with this. The next 24 hours dragged like an eternity. Every second that passed only fueled the fire burning inside me. I barely slept, my mind replaying everything over and over. Vanessa's lies, Dylan's smug face, the betrayal, the destruction of my life. I wanted answers. No, I needed them. By the time I met Harris again, I was running on nothing but caffeine and anger. He was waiting for me in the same booth at Baxter's, sipping his usual burnt coffee. He looked up as I slid into the seat across from him, eyes sharp. You were right, he said, tossing a folder onto the table. Your wife didn't just leave. She disappeared. And she had help. My stomach tightened. Who? Matthews, Harris confirmed, tapping the folder. They're together. Got on a private flight 2 days ago. Guess where to? I exhaled sharply. Where? Cancun, Mexico. I clenched my jaw so tight it hurt. Cancun. A paradise I once promised Vanessa we'd go to for our anniversary. But work was too busy. Now she was there with him. They're staying at the Azul Sun Resort. Real fancy. Looks like they booked an oceanfront villa. Paid in cash. She used my money. The money I worked my ass off for. My hands curled into fists on the table. How do you know all this? Harris smirked. You don't need to know that. Just know that I'm good at what I do. I forced myself to take a breath. What else? He leaned back, studying me. They're not hiding. They think they got away clean. Dylan's using his real name at check-in. Vanessa, too. No fake IDs. No caution. Either they think you're too weak to come after them, or they just don't care. That hit me harder than I expected. She didn't even care. I could have understood guilt. I could have accepted regret. But this? Running away with another man like I never even existed? That was something else. Harris watched me, waiting. So? What now? I looked at him, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt calm. My anger wasn't wild anymore. It was focused, controlled. I'm going to Cancun. Harris raised a brow. And then, I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. I'm going to make sure she never forgets what she did. The flight. It took less than a day to put things together. A one-way ticket, a duffel bag, plan. I wasn't thinking about the law. I wasn't thinking about moving on. The only thing in my head was revenge. As the plane touched down in Cancun, I felt something shift inside me. The weak, heartbroken husband I had been was dead. Now, I was a man on a mission. I grabbed my bag, pushed through the sweaty, loud crowds at the airport, and got a cab straight to the Azul Sun Resort. When we pulled up, I took a deep breath. The place was beautiful. Pure white sand, palm trees swaying under the sun, waves crashing onto the shore. Paradise. And she was in there. The driver eyed me through the mirror. First time in Cancun? I stared out the window, jaw clenched. No, I muttered. I just came to see someone. Someone who thought she got away. I stepped out of the cab, grabbed my bag, and headed toward the entrance. It was time for Vanessa to see the one thing she never expected. Me. I walked through the grand entrance of Azul Sun Resort, the cold blast of air conditioning barely cooling the heat rising in my chest. She was here, somewhere in this paradise, drinking cocktails and laughing like she hadn't ripped my life apart. I had to play it smart. Storming into their villa, fists swinging, wasn't the way to do this. I needed to be patient. I needed to let them feel safe. At the front desk, a smiling woman greeted me in accented English. Welcome to Azul Sun Resort. How can I assist you? I forced a polite smile, checking in. The name's Jake Matthews. The fake name rolled off my tongue naturally. I wasn't here for a vacation. I was here for war. She tapped on her keyboard. Ah yes, Ocean View Suite. You're all set. Enjoy your stay, Mr. Matthews. I nodded, grabbed my keycard, and made my way through the resort. The place was a dream. Pure white sand, infinity pools, open bars. But I wasn't here for the scenery. I dropped my bag in my suite, changed into something casual, and stepped out. It was time to find them. The first sighting. I spotted them within an hour. They were at the poolside bar, Vanessa laughing in that fake, sugary way she did when she wanted attention. Dylan sat next to her, smug, relaxed like he had won. His arm was draped over her, his fingers lazily tracing patterns on her bare shoulder. My stomach twisted. She looked so different, not in appearance but in how she carried herself. Free, careless. She was drinking a piña colada, her sunglasses perched on top of her head, flashing that fake smile at him like he was the best thing that had ever happened to her, like I had never even existed. I clenched my jaw, my fists, my entire body. I couldn't go over there. Not yet. I had to be smart. I had to make her feel what I had felt. So I waited. I ordered a drink at the opposite end of the bar, pretending to be another nameless tourist. Watching, waiting, letting the anger simmer just beneath the surface. Then I saw it. Vanessa leaned in close to Dylan, whispering something in his ear. He grinned, kissed her neck, and they both got up. They were heading toward their villa. I tossed back my drink, set the glass down, and followed them at a distance. The break-in. Their villa was secluded, one of those luxury suites with a private pool and direct beach access. The kind of place we used to talk about visiting together. Now she was here with him. I waited until I saw the lights flicker off inside. Then I moved. I wasn't some master thief, but I had learned a few things in my younger days. The back patio door was secured by a simple latch. Too easy. A thin piece of metal, a credit card, slipped between the frame, a quick flick of the wrist, and, click, the door opened. I stepped inside. The air smelled of expensive perfume, Vanessa's signature scent. The kind I had bought for her birthdays, anniversaries. The kind she now wore for another man. The sound of water running in the bathroom told me they were inside, probably showering off their long, sun-soaked day of betrayal. I moved quickly. My hands weren't shaking anymore. I was too calm, too focused. Her purse sat on the counter. Dylan's wallet next to it. I grabbed them both, dumped everything onto the floor. Credit cards, cash, IDs all scattered like trash. Then I saw it. Her phone. Unlocked. Vanessa always guarded her phone like it was her lifeline. But now she was careless. She thought she had nothing to hide anymore. I swiped through her messages, my pulse pounding. And that's when I saw the texts. Not just to Dylan, but to her lawyer. Make sure everything is finalized. I don't want him having any way to come after me. Just wipe him clean. I don't care what it takes. Jake never had the backbone to fight for anything. He'll just disappear. I gritted my teeth so hard I thought they might crack. This wasn't just about cheating. She wanted to erase me. Completely. I heard movement from the bathroom. Water shutting off. Footsteps. I put the phone back exactly how I found it, stepped into the shadows, and slipped out the same way I came in. As I walked back to my own suite, my heart was hammering. I had seen enough. This wasn't about love. This wasn't even about betrayal anymore. Vanessa was at war with me. She just didn't know that I was about to fight back. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my suite, staring at the ceiling, Vanessa's words repeating in my mind like a goddamn mantra. Wipe him clean. He'll just disappear. Jake never had the backbone to fight for anything. She thought I was weak. She thought I'd walk away. No, I wasn't the man she used to manipulate anymore. I wasn't going to cry, beg, or plead for answers. I was going to ruin her. I grabbed my phone, scrolled through my contacts, and found Harris's number. It was late, but I didn't care. You find something? He answered groggily. I found everything. My voice was steady, cold. I felt nothing. That's so? I could hear him lighting a cigarette. Then what's the next move, Jake? I looked at the digital clock on the bedside table. 3:47 a.m. We hit her where it hurts. The setup. By morning, I was sitting in a small, grimy internet cafe off the main road, the kind no tourist would step into. Harris had set up a guy, a hacker, someone who could pull strings. His name was Lou, a thin guy with dark-rimmed glasses and an attitude bigger than his frame. He tapped away at a laptop, sipping from a coffee that smelled like gasoline. So, let me get this straight, he muttered. You want me to access her accounts, her emails, her cloud storage? Basically, you want to burn this chick's life to the ground? No, I corrected. I want everything. Every receipt, every secret, every hidden message. I don't just want to ruin her. I want her to watch it happen. Lou let out a low whistle. Man, whatever she did to you must have been bad. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. All right, give me a few hours. This kind of thing takes time. I slid a thick envelope across the table. Cash. Enough to make him work fast. Lou grinned. Now we're talking. The revelations. By noon, I was sitting in a back alley cafe with Harris, sipping a bitter espresso while Lou scrolled through his findings. All right, let's see what we got, Lou said, cracking his knuckles. The first thing he pulled up was a bank transaction log. I leaned in. $42,500 wired from my joint account to a private offshore account. She took everything? I muttered, my grip tightening around the coffee cup. Lou nodded. And she's not done. Looks like she's planning to transfer more by the end of the week. The money I worked for, the life I built. She was taking it all. Then Lou smirked. But here's where it gets interesting. He clicked a folder titled Private. Hundreds of emails and text messages filled the screen. I scanned them, my breath slowing. Vanessa had been cheating on me long before Dylan. There were others. She's been playing this game for a while, Lou chuckled. Dylan ain't the first, and he sure as hell won't be the last. My stomach churned. The messages, the receipts, the late-night hotel bookings, it was all there. I had wasted years of my life on a woman who never even loved me. But now it was my turn. I looked at Harris. How do we leak this? He grinned. Leave that to me. The first strike. By sunset, the damage was done. Harris had sent everything to Price and Young Marketing, Vanessa's old job. Every scandal, every dirty secret, proof of her fraud. Then, the real cherry on top, he sent all the dirt to Dylan. Within an hour, my phone buzzed. It was a video. Dylan screaming at Vanessa. You used me? You used me? He was red-faced, furious, pacing around the villa as Vanessa sat on the bed, looking cornered. Dylan, baby, please, it's not what you think. Not what I think. You've been screwing other guys behind my back too. I smirked. Oh, this was beautiful. I gave up everything for you. You told me we had a future. And the whole time, you were just playing me like you played your husband. What kind of messed up psycho are you, Vanessa? She reached for him, but he shoved her hand away. You know what? Screw you. I'm out. You deserve nothing. He stormed out, slamming the door so hard the screen shook. Vanessa sat there, shaking, eyes wide, alone. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling. Step 1, complete. Step 2, she was about to lose everything. I sat in my hotel room, watching the video of Vanessa's world burning in real time. Dylan was gone. The man she had thrown her life away for had turned his back on her the second he realized she wasn't some perfect fantasy. She had no one now, but I wasn't done. Not yet. Harris sat across from me, scrolling through his phone, smirking. You really wanted her to suffer, huh? I exhaled slowly. She wasn't just cheating, Harris. She tried to erase me. She thought I'd just disappear. I'm making sure she's the one who disappears. He chuckled. Well, mission accomplished. That email blast you had me send? Her old job cut her off. And the best part? That offshore account where she stashed your money? Frozen. My chest tightened. What? You heard me. He tossed his phone on the table. Turns out, when you use fraudulent transfers to move money, banks don't like that. A few calls, a little legal pressure, and boom, account locked down. She can't touch a single cent. I let out a breath. Vanessa had nothing. The final blow. I needed to see her. One last time. I wanted to see the look in her eyes when she realized everything was gone. So I waited. By midnight, she left the villa alone. No security, no Dylan, just her. Dressed in a tight black dress like she was still someone important. Like she still mattered. I followed her from a distance as she stumbled into a bar, ordered drink after drink, desperately scrolling through her phone, probably trying to fix the disaster I had created. She looked exhausted, panicked, trapped, and I loved it. After an hour, she finally got up and started walking, probably heading back to the villa, still thinking she had a home to go back to. I stepped in front of her. Her head snapped up, and for the first time in years, I saw something I never thought I'd see in Vanessa's eyes. Fear. Jake. Her voice was barely a whisper. I smiled. Calm. Controlled. Dangerous. Hey, sweetheart. She swallowed hard. What are you doing here? I took a step closer, my presence swallowing hers. Came to see how you were doing. Her eyes darted around, looking for an escape. She knew. She knew she had nowhere to run. Jake, listen, I know you're upset, but I laughed, actually laughed, and it made her flinch. Upset? No, Vanessa, I'm not upset. I'm just here to check in. After all, you seemed so confident when you said I'd just disappear. Her lips parted, but no words came out. What's wrong? I continued, tilting my head. Money problems? Dylan gone. No one left to run to. Her breathing hitched. Jake, please. Whatever you think I did. Oh, I know exactly what you did. I cut her off. I saw the texts, the money transfers, the emails to your lawyer. I know everything, Vanessa. She looked like she was about to pass out. I was scared. I thought you'd fight for you. I let out a sharp breath. No, sweetheart. I fought for myself. And guess what? I won. She blinked rapidly, her hands shaking. Jake, I loved you. I stepped even closer, my voice deadly quiet. You loved me? Is that what you told Dylan before you left? Is that what you told every other guy before him? She opened her mouth, but she had nothing. No more lies. No more manipulations. I want you to remember this moment, I said, my voice calm. Because this is the last time you'll ever see me. Her lip trembled. Jake! I turned and walked away. She didn't follow. She didn't scream. She just stood there, alone, in the middle of a foreign country with no money, no man, and no future. Exactly where she deserved to be. The endgame. I left Cancun the next morning, boarding a flight back home with nothing but a duffel bag and the satisfaction of knowing Vanessa was finished. By the time I landed, my phone buzzed. A message from Harris. She tried to book a flight home. Her cards declined. She's stuck. Enjoy your life, man. You earned it. I smirked. For the first time in years, I felt free. And Vanessa? She was nothing but a memory. As the plane soared through the night sky, I leaned back in my seat, staring at the city lights shrinking beneath me. It was over. Vanessa was trapped in a foreign country, stripped of everything she had stolen from me. No money, no allies, no way out. But I wasn't done yet. I had one last move to make. Back to reality. Landing back home felt surreal. The last few weeks had been a blur of rage, betrayal, and revenge. Now, standing at the airport, breathing in the cold night air, it hit me. I had nothing. No house, no wife, just the clothes on my back and a bag of essentials. And I'd never felt more alive. I checked into a temporary apartment downtown. Something small, something new, a fresh start. As I sat on the couch, scrolling through my phone, I saw a text from Vanessa. It was long, desperate, a mess of half apologies and pathetic attempts at justification. Jake, I don't know what happened, but I need your help. Someone froze my accounts, and I have nothing. Dylan left me and I can't get a flight home. Please, you're the only person I have left. Pathetic. I didn't reply. I let her rot in the mess she made. Then I did what I should have done long ago. I blocked her. The last piece of the puzzle. A few days later, I got a call from Harris. Thought you might like to know something, he said. Vanessa found a way back. Guess she managed to scam some other idiot into paying for her flight. I chuckled. Some things never change. But here's the fun part, Harris continued. She's not coming back to a happy ending. Remember that offshore account? Turns out, some of that money wasn't just yours. It was dirty. I raised a brow. Meaning she's about to have bigger problems than you. The feds are looking into the fraud charges. If she sets foot here, she might be walking straight into an arrest. I let out a breath. Karma was a beautiful thing. So, what are you going to do now? Harris asked. I looked out the window at the city stretching before me. Live, I said simply. For the first time in years, I'm just going to live. And with that, I hung up. The final moment. A week later, I was sitting in a cafe, drinking coffee, when I saw her. Vanessa. She was across the street, looking nothing like the woman I once knew. The expensive clothes, the flawless hair, the fake confidence, it was all gone. She looked worn down, her eyes darting around, paranoid, broken. I knew she saw me. For a brief second, our eyes met. She hesitated. Then she turned away. No words, no confrontation, nothing, just silence. And that's when I knew. I had won. Vanessa was just another ghost from my past. And I was finally free.
The wine hadn't even settled in the glasses when she dropped the bomb. We were at her parents' house, long mahogany table, roast chicken nobody really wanted, forced smiles all around. Her brother, Danny, was scrolling on his phone under the table. Her mom, Judith, wore her usual, I tolerate you face. And then came her voice, loud and clear across the table, slicing through the meaningless small talk like a dagger. My lover sees me as a trophy. You see me as a problem. Just like that. No warning. No hesitation. Eyes locked on mine, smirk on her lips. The air went dead for a second, like the whole room forgot how to breathe. Then, they clapped. Her mom clapped. Her sister giggled. Even Danny chuckled like he'd just seen a funny meme. I sat frozen, the words echoing in my skull like a bomb siren, one that never ends. That smirk of hers never left. In fact, it curled wider, daring me to react, to explode, to break. I didn't. I stood up, calm as the eye of a hurricane, pulled out the car keys, laid them on the table like poker chips at the end of a game, then added the house keys. The room finally quieted. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Trophies belong to winners. You all just lost." Then I walked out. Silence followed me like a shadow. Back home, I didn't sleep. I sat in the driveway for hours, staring at the garage like it held all the answers. I thought about the past year, the missed calls, her fake work trips, the sudden gym obsession, the new lingerie I never got to see. All the pieces were already there, weren't they? I just didn't want to see the full picture. But that night painted it in blood red. I replayed every lie in my head. It's just a coworker. I'm tired. You're imagining things. Nah, she wasn't tired. She was busy playing house with someone else while I paid the bills and believed in her. Her name's Nicole. We met in college. She had this wild laugh that made you feel like the world wasn't such a bad place. I thought I'd hit the jackpot. Turns out, I married a roulette wheel. Every spin brought a new lie. That night, I called my lawyer. Told him I wanted everything documented. Every shared account frozen. Every asset locked up. I wasn't going to be the guy crying into a whiskey glass while she partied in my damn house. You'd think betrayal feels like a knife. It doesn't. It feels like drowning, silent, slow, and humiliating. You claw at air, scream into pillows, try to breathe, but nothing helps. Because the one person you trusted the most just kicked you underwater. I went back to the house the next morning. She was there, wearing one of my old shirts like nothing happened. Coffee in hand. "I didn't mean it like that," she mumbled. Her voice had the fake sweetness she used on cops and salesmen. "Don't talk," I said. "Just listen." She rolled her eyes and leaned against the kitchen counter like we were about to have a casual chat. "You're overreacting." "Oh yeah," I said, walking over to the drawer and pulling out the printed screenshots, text I'd found by sheer accident last week when she forgot to log out of iCloud. I'd kept them hidden. Back then I wasn't ready to know the truth. But now I was breathing fire. She glanced at them and had the audacity to laugh. "You went through my phone? You let your iCloud sync to the house MacBook, genius." She went quiet. I laid the pages out like evidence in a courtroom. Messages like "last night was insane" smiling face with horns, and "he still thinks I'm working late" face with tears of joy in bold font. Names I didn't recognize, one in particular, Marcus. I had a feeling that was the one she called lover. "Marcus?" I asked. "That who thinks you're a trophy?" She didn't answer. Just turned away, pretending to be busy with her coffee. That moment was the death of everything we ever had. You don't come back from that. I walked out again. This time for good. But here's the kicker. 2 hours later, I got a call from her dad. Not to apologize. Not to talk man to man. Nah. He told me, "You embarrassed my daughter in front of the family." I almost laughed. Almost. That's when I knew. They were all the same. Enablers. Snake pit with a welcome mat. I started making plans to take the house back, legally. And I did. Turns out, she never signed the prenup revision I'd asked for a year ago. My lawyer was brutal. Cold-blooded. Just the way I needed him to be. And now? Now the house is mine. And so is the silence. But silence isn't always peace. Sometimes, it's just the beginning of war. It started with the perfume. Nicole had never worn perfume. Not the strong kind, anyway. She always claimed it gave her headaches, made her feel dizzy. But about 4 months before that dinner, she came home smelling like a damn department store tester strip. First time, I didn't say anything. Maybe a friend sprayed her. Maybe it was in the air. You know how it is. We tell ourselves stories we want to believe. Second time, I asked. New perfume. She blinked fast. Too fast. Oh, yeah. Some samples from work. She worked in marketing. For a dental tech company. Not Chanel. And it didn't stop there. Her routines changed. She was never big on makeup. Suddenly her face looked like it belonged on a billboard. Yoga pants turned to heels. She started going to the gym again, always late. They have this night class now, she said. It's only women. I believed her. Or I tried to. Then came the silence. The kind of silence that doesn't mean comfort. It means something's rotting beneath the surface. Conversations got shorter. Kisses turned into pecks. Her laugh disappeared. She was always on her phone, giggling at texts I didn't send, her screen tilted just far enough that I couldn't see. I'm not proud of what I did next. But one night, she left her iPad unlocked. Same Apple account. And there it was, iMessage synced right to it. Dozens of messages. Photos. Even voice notes. One thread caught my eye. Marcus Whiteheart. I clicked it, and my heart fell through my damn chest. Still thinking about last night. Your insane smiling face with hard eyes. Don't wash the sheets yet winking face. I want your scent on me tomorrow. I froze. My hands were shaking like I'd been electrocuted. It felt like watching someone punch a hole through the life you built, except they smiled while doing it. She had been bringing him to our house. Our bed. The betrayal wasn't just physical. It was calculated. Rehearsed. I sat there for hours, reading months' worth of lies dressed up as romance. Sometimes they even laughed at me. Joked about how clueless I was. She said things like, he still thinks I'm stressed from work faced with tears of joy, and I might fake another fight tonight to leave the house. That one stuck with me. I remembered every fight she started. The night she stormed out, claiming I didn't understand her. All scripted. Just to have an excuse to crawl under someone else. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even move. Just stared at the screen like it might change, like maybe I'd hallucinated the whole thing. But nah, it was real. I didn't confront her right away. That's the thing no one tells you about betrayal. It paralyzes you. You think you'll rage, scream, throw plates. But instead, you go quiet. You observe. You plan. I started watching her. Not like a creep. Like a detective. I kept screenshots. I recorded calls to my lawyer. I started setting the stage for the exit. But I didn't delete the messages. I wanted her to know I knew. One day, I left the iPad on the kitchen counter, open to the Marcus chat. Then I went for a long walk. When I came back, it was gone. Not just closed, factory reset. She never said a word about it. Neither did I. Because I was saving my words for the perfect moment. That dinner. And when it came, and she stood there smiling as her family applauded her betrayal, I knew. She wanted me to break. She wanted drama. To play the victim. But I didn't give her that. I gave her silence. And that silence cut deeper than anything I could have screamed. The thing about a moment you've rehearsed in your head 1,000 times is, it never happens the way you expect. I thought I'd corner her. Thought I'd pull out the screenshots, throw them in her face, watch her crumble like the cheap lies she'd built our life on. But Nicole didn't crumble. She didn't even flinch. It was 2 days after that dinner. I waited until I could actually look her in the eye without seeing red. She came home late, again. Hair done, heels in her hand, dress wrinkled in all the wrong places. She looked surprised to see me awake. Didn't think you'd still be up, she said casually, walking into the kitchen like it was just another Tuesday. I didn't say anything. I just placed the printed messages on the counter. Every page, every photo, every emoji-laced message between her and Marcus. She stared at them for a second. Then she smiled. That little crooked, condescending smile I hadn't seen in a while. She picked up a page, skimmed it like she was checking a receipt, and said, "Wow, you printed these." I stood there, stunned. "That's all you have to say?" She shrugged. "I knew you'd find out eventually. You've been weird lately. Snooping around like a puppy looking for a bone. You cheated on me, Nicole." "Did I?" She raised an eyebrow like she was the one being wronged. "Maybe if you paid attention sometime, I wouldn't have had to look elsewhere." That hit harder than I expected. "You mean after I worked 12-hour days to keep our mortgage paid while you found yourself on weekend retreats with Marcus?" She sighed, like I was exhausting her. "I'm not having this conversation with you right now. I'm tired. I snapped. "You're tired?" "I haven't slept properly in weeks, Nicole. I'm living with a stranger who wears my ring and lies to my face." She walked past me, not a single tear in her eye. "You're so dramatic." I followed her down the hall. "You slept with him in our house." That got her attention. She stopped, turned. "You weren't home," she said flatly. That silence between us, it could have burned the walls down. "No apology?" I asked. "Apologize for what?" "For finally feeling alive again," she snapped. "Marcus makes me feel like a woman. You make me feel like a checklist." That was it. That was her grand excuse. "So that's it?" I asked. "You're just done? Throw away a decade like it was a bad lease." "You threw it away first," she hissed. "When you stopped seeing me." I stepped back, suddenly realizing the full picture. This wasn't guilt. This wasn't regret. This was war, and she came armed with rehearsed lines and zero shame. She turned on her heel and went into the bedroom. I heard the lock click. I stood there for a long time, just breathing. It's wild how fast love can rot. 1 week you're planning vacations, Next week you're looking at the person you thought would bury you next to them someday and wishing you'd never met. I didn't sleep that night either. The next morning, she made coffee like nothing had happened. She even hummed a song, wore a new dress, said she was meeting a friend. I didn't ask who. I just smiled, handed her the divorce papers, and said, "Sign these, and I won't burn your reputation to the ground." She froze, smile dropping. Finally, "What is this?" "Freedom," I said. "For me, not for her." You think you're prepared. You think once you hand her the divorce papers, it's done. The damage is tallied, the war is over, and now you just lick your wounds and move on. But no one tells you about the silence. It follows you like a curse. You sit on your own couch, in your empty living room, staring at a wall that still smells like her perfume. Every time the wind knocks something over, you expect her voice. But there's nothing. That's when the weight hits you. It wasn't the affair that broke me. It was the realization that she'd been gone for a long time, and I was too blind, too hopeful, or too much of a damn coward to see it. All those fake smiles, fake moans, fake apologies, they weren't temporary. They were rehearsals for her exit. I drank too much the first week after she left. Cheap whiskey, like I was punishing myself for being stupid. Some nights I'd fall asleep on the floor, still wearing the same shirt I'd worn the day before, dreaming of arguments we never had, arguments where I won. But in real life, there's no winning, just surviving. It's strange how betrayal rewires your mind. Every sound from your phone feels like another bomb. Every happy couple on the street feels like an insult. You become suspicious of everything, like love itself was just a sales pitch you fell for. I started blaming myself. That's the sick part. Was I boring? Too busy? Too stable? I replayed every conversation in my head, trying to figure out where I missed the signs. But deep down, I knew the truth. I didn't miss the signs. I ignored them. Because love turns red flags into white ones if you stare long enough. One night, I was sitting in my truck outside a gas station. Just sitting, engine off, thinking about nothing and everything. That's when Danny, her brother, texted me. Didn't deserve what she did. Just saying. I stared at that message for 5 full minutes. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because that was the first time someone from her side acknowledged the madness. He followed up with another text a few minutes later. She told us you cheated first. That's why we clapped. That one? That broke me. She didn't just betray me, she preemptively built a narrative. Turned her whole family against me with lies just to justify what she did. She didn't want understanding. She wanted applause. She got it. That's when I stopped feeling sad. Grief morphed into rage. Rage is cleaner. It gives you direction. Purpose. I started getting my life back in order, not for her, but in spite of her. Got the locks changed. Sold the bed. Repainted the whole bedroom. Got a dog. Took 2 weeks off work and drove to Arizona just to watch the desert bleed color at sunrise. And it helped. Not all at once, but enough. It didn't make the pain go away, but it made me me again. Funny thing is, the silence that once haunted me, I started to crave it. No more walking on eggshells. No more fake apologies. No more pretending. Just me. And that silence? Now it sounds like freedom. You reach a crossroads after betrayal. One path leads you straight into self-destruction. Burn everything down, sleep with every stranger, scream at the sky like it owes you something. The other? It's slower, quieter, and a hell of a lot harder. I chose the second, not because I'm noble, not because I'm better than her, but because I refused to let Nicole's lies be the last story written about me. The divorce process was brutal. She tried to play innocent in front of the lawyer, claimed emotional neglect, threw around buzzwords like narcissistic behavior and emotional distance. Every time she opened her mouth, it was like watching an actress audition for a role she already believed was hers. But I had the receipts, screenshots, messages, dates, times, hotel bookings. And the kicker? An Uber charge she forgot to delete from our shared bank account. It showed she took a ride from our house to Marcus's place at 11 p.m. Said she was at a conference in Jersey that night. My lawyer shredded her like old mail. By the time court was over, I kept the house, the truck, and half the savings. She got her car and some furniture. Her smirk faded that day. I'll never forget it. Seeing her walk out of the courthouse, makeup cracking, face pale, rage hidden behind cheap sunglasses. That was the last time I saw her in person. But Nicole wasn't done. Not really. 2 weeks later, she started posting on Instagram like nothing happened. Beach pics. Yoga poses. Healing Energy Cherry Blossom Captions. The kind of fake peace people broadcast when they're too proud to admit they're sinking. Marcus disappeared from her feed. My guess? He bailed once it got real. Once she wasn't the exciting secret anymore. Once she became the drama. It wasn't just about what she did. It was about who she became. And I had to decide who I was going to be after all this. One night, I sat outside on the porch, dog curled at my feet, beer in my hand, and asked myself the simplest, hardest question. Now what? The anger was wearing off. The sadness had settled. What was left was choice. So I started rebuilding. First step, therapy. I didn't want to. Thought it was pointless. But one session in, I realized I hadn't spoken honestly to anyone in years. Not even myself. The therapist didn't say much, just enough to help me start unpacking the weight I'd been carrying. Turns out, I've been holding on to more than just betrayal. I was angry at myself. For staying. For trusting. For choosing a woman who looked me in the eye while building a new life behind my back. But with every session, the fog lifted. I started working out again. Not for revenge. For clarity. I stopped checking her social media. I blocked her number. And one night, I deleted the folder. The one full of screenshots, photos, messages. I didn't need the evidence anymore. I didn't need the poison. Because I finally realized closure doesn't come from them admitting they were wrong. It comes from you deciding it's over. And that decision? That was mine. It's strange how quiet healing is. There's no parade when you start waking up without checking your phone for pain. No celebration when you pass her favorite coffee shop and don't flinch. No applause when her name finally stops feeling like poison in your throat. It just happens. Quietly. One day at a time. Looking back, I don't recognize the man I was when Nicole left. That guy? He was shattered glass pretending to be a window. I tried to be the perfect husband. Responsible, loyal, reliable. I paid the bills, fixed the leaks, remembered anniversaries. I thought that was enough. But when you're with someone who thrives on chaos, your stability becomes boring. A target. Nicole wasn't just a liar. She was a performer. A manipulator. The kind of woman who could fake a tear for sympathy, then laugh about it with her lover minutes later. I didn't see it at first. Love can blind you to the blade in her hand, especially when she's holding it behind her back. But that family dinner? That was the turning point. When she looked me in the eye and said, "My lover sees me as a trophy. You see me as a problem," and her family clapped like they were watching a reality show finale. That's when something broke inside me. And not in a weak way. In a freeing way. I realized I wasn't losing something. I was escaping it. You know what happened after the divorce was finalized? Peace. Real peace. Not the fake kind where you pretend everything's fine while your heart sinks. The kind where the silence doesn't hurt anymore. Where your own company feels like enough. I got back into old habits. Good ones. Started reading again. Took up woodworking. Built a bench for the backyard. It wasn't perfect, but neither am I. And that's okay. I even started dating again slowly. Carefully. No games. No illusions. Just honest conversations and open eyes. And here's what I learned through it all. 1. Love is not supposed to feel like a battlefield. If you're constantly guessing, constantly apologizing for things you didn't do, constantly trying to prove your worth, you're not in love. You're in survival mode. 2. Loyalty means nothing to the wrong person. I gave Nicole everything I had. She used it, drained it, then blamed me for not being fun anymore. You can't make someone value your heart if they're only looking for a thrill. 3. The truth always shows up eventually. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But lies don't age well. They rot and leak through cracks. She thought she was untouchable. But her truth was written in Uber receipts and iCloud messages. 4. You owe no one your suffering. Not even your partner. Especially not your partner. Staying for love when that love is killing you? That's not noble. That's self-harm. If I could go back, I'd tell myself this. She didn't break you. She revealed herself. And that's a blessing in disguise. And if you're reading this, going through your own version of betrayal, here's what I'll say to you. Don't chase closure from the person who wrecked you. Don't wait for them to apologize, or explain, or regret. You're not a problem. You're not a burden. You're not too boring, too soft, too much. You were just too real for someone who preferred fiction. And the silence they left behind? Make it yours. Let it speak peace into your bones. Let it remind you, you survived. And now, it's your turn to live. It's funny how the worst memories don't wait for permission to show up. They don't knock. They don't ask if you're ready. They just barge in loud, messy, and cruel. A few weeks after the divorce was finalized, I found myself walking through a flea market. I wasn't there for anything in particular, just needed air, distractions. That's when I saw it. A record player. Vintage. Same model Nicole and I bought at a thrift shop during our second year together. That memory hit me like a fist. I remembered the night we got it, how we raced home like kids, dug through dusty boxes of old vinyl, played Sam Cooke and danced barefoot in the kitchen. I remember how she laughed, wild and real, head tilted back, hands in mine like she'd never let go. And that's what hurts most about betrayal. Not the lies. Not even the cheating. It's the fact that some of it was real. You don't fake that kind of joy. You don't fake 1,000 tiny moments that stitch two people together. Which means at some point, she chose to rip it all apart. She made that decision. Silently. Slowly. One lie at a time. After the flea market, I drove to a nearby trail. I used to hike there before life got too complicated. I stood on the cliff edge, wind ripping through my jacket, and screamed. Loud. Not words. Just everything. All the bottled up pain. All the anger. The humiliation. The ache of seeing someone you loved become a stranger with your secrets in her mouth and another man in her bed. And I swear, some part of me stayed in that scream. I got home and started digging through the last of the boxes she left behind. Old sweaters. Birthday cards. Her favorite scarf. I should have tossed it all. But instead, I made a fire in the backyard. One by one, I fed the flames. The photos were the worst. Us at the beach. Her in my hoodie. Me holding her hand at a wedding. All lies now. Beautiful, cruel lies. When the last photo curled into ash, I sat in the grass and watched the smoke rise. That's when I realized. I didn't want revenge anymore. She wasn't worth that part of me. Let her build a life on lies and Instagram filters. Let her keep chasing excitement in men who only see her as a temporary thrill. That's not my burden anymore. I started focusing on the people who stayed. My sister, who called every night without fail. My buddy Caleb, who showed up with pizza and beers and never asked questions. Even Danny, her brother, who admitted he felt ashamed for clapping that night at dinner. Turns out, when the dust settles, you learn who's really in your corner. The fallout of betrayal doesn't just break your heart, it strips your circle down to the real ones. And that's a gift. I started writing again. Not for work. For me. Just raw thoughts. I wrote about love, grief, survival. I wrote about Nicole, but not her as a person, her as a lesson. A warning. A scar I earned and learned from. And slowly, word by word, I stopped bleeding. Healing doesn't come with a date. It's not a finish line. It's 1,000 choices to get up, to breathe, to believe that the story isn't over. That was the turning point. The day I stopped being her ex-husband and started becoming me again. 6 months. That's how long it's been since Nicole walked out of my life for good, and somehow, I'm still standing. Not just standing. Living. That word means something different now. It used to mean working nonstop, providing, being a good man. Now it means mornings with no tension, laughing without hesitation, taking care of myself like I actually matter. The house is quiet these days, but it's not lonely. The silence that once felt like punishment now feels earned. It's peace. It's clarity. It's the sound of a man who finally knows who the hell he is. People ask if I miss her. Not really. What I miss are the lies I believed. The illusion I clung to. The story I told myself about us, about what love was supposed to look like. I miss the version of her that only existed in my imagination. That girl died a long time ago. The real Nicole? She was never mine. I bumped into her once after everything. Randomly, at a grocery store. She saw me first. I could tell by the way she froze, hand halfway to the wine rack. She looked different, worn down, somehow. Like whatever fire she'd chased burned her, too. She said, "Hey." I nodded. That's it. Just a nod. Then she said something I'll never forget. "You really moved on, huh?" It wasn't a question. It was regret. Confusion. Maybe even a little envy. I smiled and said, "Yeah, best thing I ever did." And I meant it. She didn't ask about the house. Or the dog. Or my life. She didn't have the right to. I didn't know her stories, or small talk, or kindness. I walked away. No fireworks. No drama. Just me walking out of the frozen food aisle like a man finally free from the weight he never should have carried. Since then, I've said goodbye in small ways. I changed the bedroom curtains she picked. Got a new mattress. Took that desert road trip I'd put off for years. Even started dating someone new, not seriously, just enough to remember that not all love ends in flames. And here's the truth most people won't tell you. You don't have to forgive someone to move on. You just have to let go of who they were supposed to be. Nicole was supposed to be my forever. She ended up being my lesson. And that's okay, because I'd rather carry scars than live in denial. I'd rather rebuild myself honestly than live in a house full of fake promises. So, to anyone who's reading this, any man sitting in the rubble of what he thought was love, this is for you. You'll get through it. Not quickly, not painlessly, but fully. One day, you'll wake up and realize that you're not surviving anymore. You're living. You're laughing. You're you again, stronger, wiser, sharper. And when that day comes, you'll look back and say what I say now with no bitterness. Trophies belong to winners. You all just lost. The house is mine, and so is the silence. But that silence? It sings. He threw the water on me like I was a stray dog, right in the middle of the country club parking lot, as I was stepping out of my black Maserati, soaking my custom charcoal Tom Ford suit. The sun was high, crowd thick, and silence spread fast after the splash hit me. His words cut sharper than the sting of the cold water. "This is to freshen up your poor-looking self," he said, smirking, holding his trophy wife by the waist. My ex-wife. The woman I gave 10 years of my life to. I didn't blink. I just smiled, took a breath, adjusted my sleeve, and said the sentence that made every investor in a 100-mile radius freeze like they'd heard a gun cock. "Then our $20 billion deal is off now." His eyes twitched. Her face dropped. I turned, stepped back into my car, and drove away as the world around me shattered. Not because I canceled the deal, but because the woman I once built my entire future with had just turned into a venomous snake, and I hadn't even told you how I got here. Let me rewind a little. Her name's Samantha. People call her Sam. Blonde, Ivy League grad, sharp jawline, sharper tongue. When I met her, she was an ambitious intern at Crestfall Bank, and I was already 2 IPOs deep with a reputation for sniffing out unicorns before they broke the surface. She was charming, brilliant, and full of promises. I thought she was the one. I married her after 9 months. Big mistake. Things were good, for a while. Dinners in Paris, weekends in Tokyo, private getaways in the Maldives. She said she loved me. She whispered it every time before we'd get intimate. But looking back, it felt rehearsed. Practiced. Scripted. And I was too blind, too damn drunk on the fantasy to notice the warning signs. The first crack appeared last year. We were hosting a charity gala. Everyone who mattered in finance was there, senators, CEOs, media. I was giving a speech, thanking my rock for standing by me through every storm. I looked at Sam. She was smiling, nodding, even blew a kiss. But that smile didn't reach her eyes. I remember walking off stage, people clapping, reporters flashing cameras. She leaned in and said, "Don't wait for me tonight. I've got a late meeting with the Zurich board." I kissed her cheek and let her go. That night, I poured myself a glass of Glenlivet and watched our security cameras. Not because I suspected anything, just instinct. Boredom. Whatever excuse helps me sleep at night. What I saw made the glass slip out of my hand and shatter on the floor. She didn't go to Zurich. She left the building, got into a silver Range Rover I didn't recognize, and let's just say there was a lot of close contact in that back seat. The timestamp read 9:47 p.m. The meeting was supposed to start at 10. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't confront her either. Not then. I needed more than one moment. I needed proof. I needed clarity. So I played dumb. Over the next few weeks, I hired a private investigator, a veteran named Mitch. 6'2", retired Marine, no nonsense. Within 4 days, he handed me a USB and said, "You sure you want to see this?" I nodded. There were photos, videos, phone recordings, hotel bookings, conversations. She wasn't just having an affair, she was living another life. His name? Logan Pierce, slick Wall Street clown turned hedge fund snake. The kind of guy who wears sunglasses indoors and calls people bro unironically. He was younger than me, cockier than me, and dumb enough to believe he could compete with me. But Sam? She loved him. At least, that's what she told him every time she moaned in those hotel rooms. She even told him my secrets. Financial projections. Upcoming mergers. I saw her whispering them into his ear like dirty little bedtime stories. She betrayed me not just as a man, but as a businessman, as a human being. That brings us back to the splash, to Logan's smirk, to my billion-dollar revenge. And I haven't even told you the worst part yet. Because after I canceled the deal, everything changed. But not the way I expected. You think revenge is satisfying? Wait till you see what happens when the woman who played you like a fiddle watches her empire start to burn. And you're the one lighting the match, slowly, one finger at a time. This was just the beginning. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I drove to the lake house. The one we used to call our retreat, before she started retreating into hotel rooms with that poser Logan. I sat by the fireplace, lit a cigar, and watched the flames dance while her voice echoed in my head. You're the only one I'll ever need. Lies. Every single one of them. Her words were weapons with sugar coating. And I was bleeding. In the morning, I made some calls. See? What Sam didn't know, what Logan was too stupid to even consider, was that the deal they were trying to close through her new bank? The one they needed me to sign off on to unlock the offshore funds and investor backing? It all depended on my final nod. And I had just shaken my head. By noon, headlines started shifting. Mystic Holdings pulls out of $20 billion merger. Crestfall shares slide after sudden withdrawal. CEO Marcus reads silent amid market panic. I stayed silent, all right. Because silence is louder than rage when you've got power. At 3 p.m., Samantha called. I didn't pick up. At 3:01, she called again. Ignored. By the seventh missed call, I finally answered. Not because I wanted to talk, but because I wanted to hear how she'd lie this time. Marcus, what the hell did you do? Do you know what this means? She screamed the second I said hello. Yeah, I said calmly. It means you and your boyfriend just kissed your dreams goodbye. She went quiet. I heard a breath, shaky and controlled. Look, we need to talk. Just you and me. I almost laughed. You lost the right to talk to me like that the moment you bent over for Logan in that Swiss penthouse. Don't pretend you're calling for peace. You're calling because your kingdom's crumbling and the king just flipped the board. She tried again, softer. Marcus, I messed up. But I didn't mean for it to go this far. We can fix this. You don't still anything. I cut her off. You chose him. You sold me out. Don't pretend this was love. It was leverage. And now it's gone. Then I hung up. An hour later, Mitch sent me a photo. Logan, pacing outside their high-rise penthouse, phone glued to his ear, sweating like he just lost everything, because he had. And Sam? She was in the background, screaming, throwing something at the wall, probably blaming him for being a lousy pawn. But this wasn't over. Not yet. Because what neither of them knew was that the cancellation was just phase 1. Phase 2 was about to start. I called my lawyer. Then my tech guy. Then my media contact at Wall Street Weekly. Time to leak a few things, I said. By evening, Logan's firm was under investigation for insider trading. Anonymous sources, me, had provided documentation. Emails. Private audio. Everything Sam had whispered, I had recorded. She fed him sensitive info, and he acted on it. The feds moved fast when the numbers were that big. By the time I poured myself another drink, Logan's face was on every financial news outlet. Hedge fund prints under fire for alleged insider trading. And right beside him in the images, Sam, clutching his hand like she still had control of the narrative. But the look in her eyes said otherwise. She wasn't the puppet master anymore. She was just another puppet caught in the strings of someone else's revenge. And I was just getting started. You'd think watching them suffer would feel good. That I'd be smiling, maybe even laughing. But it wasn't like that. It was hollow. Because even though I was winning the war, I'd already lost the one thing that mattered. Trust. I didn't miss Sam. Not really. I missed the version of her I thought was real. The partner I believed in. The woman who used to fall asleep on my chest while we talked about retirement in Santorini. She never existed. And once you accept that, everything else just becomes business. The next day, I got another message. A video this time. It was from Mitch. He'd tapped their penthouse security system. In the clip, Logan was screaming. You told me he'd never find out. You said he was too soft. And Sam? She looked at him with this venomous glare and spat. You were the idiot who splashed him in public. I told you not to provoke him. Now look what you did. No we. No us. Just blame, flying like bullets between two snakes in a collapsing pit. I watched the clip twice. Then I smiled. Because the best part about revenge? You don't even have to deliver the final blow. They destroy each other on their own. 2 days later, I was back in Manhattan, standing in the glass elevator of my office building, watching the skyline flicker as the city prepared for war. Not literal, but corporate. Sam had underestimated something critical about me. I don't bluff. By the time I stepped out on the 48th floor, my team had already locked down all mutual ventures. Her name was scrubbed from every proposal, partnership, and meeting. The moment I pulled the plug, no one wanted to be near her. In this world, scandal sticks worse than blood. I walked into the boardroom. My executive assistant, Hannah, handed me a folder. She requested an emergency meeting with the media to do damage control. Apparently, she's claiming you were emotionally unstable. I laughed once, cold and brief. Let her talk. They always do, when they're losing. The real chaos began when my cybersecurity guy, Jules, unearthed something new. Marcus, he said, this wasn't just a fling. They were planning to take over one of your holding firms behind your back. They forged signatures. I have bank trails. Shell companies. There it was. She wasn't just cheating in hotel beds. She was cheating in boardrooms, on paper, in bank accounts, trying to rob me while pretending to love me. While kissing my face and leaving red lipstick on my collar, she was wiring my future to someone else's name. I looked at Jules. Leak it. Anonymously. To everyone. By nightfall, social media exploded. Hashtag #SamTheScam trended. Anonymous Reddit threads leaked screenshots. Finance bloggers tore into her. Every major paper ran the story. Top female banker accused of corporate fraud with secret lover. Photos of her and Logan surfaced in compromising positions, leaving the same hotel 3 nights in a row, dressed like they were going to a party after a funeral. But I wasn't done. I needed to see her. One last time. So I texted her. Come to the lake house. Just you. 1 hour. No, Logan. You owe me that. She replied 5 minutes later. Fine. 1 hour. I'm not scared of you. Typical Sam. She arrived in her white Porsche, stepping out like she was still in control. Her heels clacked against the wooden floor. She wore that black coat she knew I liked. Hair in a bun, red lips, always performing. Marcus, she said, arms crossed. This is childish. I handed her a folder. Your signature. Your bank transactions. Your voice on tape. And don't bother denying it. I already filed a complaint with the SEC. She scanned the pages, and for the first time since I met her, Samantha was speechless. Then came the shift. You think this makes you a man? She spat. You think ruining me will undo what you let happen to us? You were cold. You were boring. Always buried in numbers. Logan actually made me feel alive. I stood still, letting her words dig. You betrayed me, Sam. She scoffed. Please. Like you ever really loved me. You love control. She moved closer, lowered her voice like it meant something. And deep down, I think you liked knowing I could be taken. You liked the chase. I stared at her, trying to understand what kind of monster I'd shared my bed with for a decade. She stepped even closer. You won't release those files. You don't have the balls. So I turned my laptop toward her. Pressed play. Her voice filled the room. Don't worry, baby. Marcus is too busy chasing numbers. He doesn't even see what's happening under his nose. He's weak. Her face dropped. Her body stiffened. You recorded me? Every word. Every lie. You're insane. No, Sam. I'm just done being your fool. She lunged at the laptop, but I caught her wrist. Don't. You'll only make it worse. She ripped her arm free, breathing heavy. I'll ruin you for this. You think I don't have dirt on you? I smiled. I counted on that. That's why I cleaned house before I made my move. You taught me well, Sam. And with that, I walked out, leaving her alone in the cabin that once held memories of laughter and warmth, now just cold and quiet. As I drove away, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt exhausted. Because when you love someone like I loved her, revenge doesn't fix what they broke. It just reminds you how deep the wounds are. 3 weeks later, Logan was indicted. Fraud, insider trading, conspiracy, the charges stacked like poker chips. The SEC had enough to bury him in court for the next decade. Sam? She was dragged into it, of course. Her name appeared in every headline, her photo plastered on every screen. And not the polished headshot she used for Forbes covers. No, these were raw, chaotic shots. Her storming out of offices. Her yelling at reporters. Her crying in the back seat of a black SUV as if the world owed her something. She tried to play the victim, claimed she was manipulated, claimed Logan had tricked her. But the receipts didn't lie. Her fingerprints were on every shady deal. The day the FBI raided her apartment, I got a text from her number. No words, just a photo. It was her. Alone, sitting on the floor, hair messy, mascara bleeding down her cheeks, holding a glass of red wine. Below it, happy now. I didn't reply, because I wasn't. That's the thing no one tells you about revenge. It doesn't heal. It just distracts. You win, but you still bleed. I'd been sleeping on the couch in my office for weeks. Food lost its flavor. Music stopped sounding like music. I stared at walls like they owed me answers. My assistant asked if I needed a break. I didn't need a break. I needed to feel like myself again. But the man I was before, Sam, he didn't exist anymore. One morning, I walked past a mirror and didn't recognize the guy staring back. Beard overgrown, eyes empty. A man who'd built empires, now reduced to watching his past go up in smoke. And the worst part? I still thought about her. Not because I missed her, but because I hated her for killing the version of me that believed in people. I called Mitch again, told him to close the file. No more tracking. No more surveillance. I didn't want to see her face unless it was in court. That same week, she reached out through her lawyer. She wanted to meet. To explain, he said. I almost said no. But curiosity's a bitch. We met at a quiet hotel lounge. Private booth. Dim lights. She wore gray. Minimal makeup. Not the predator look she usually had on. More like someone who finally realized she was no longer untouchable. She sat across from me in silence. Then finally, I was wrong. I didn't speak. I thought Logan loved me. I thought I loved him. But he just wanted what you had. And I wanted to feel powerful again. I nodded slowly. And lying to me for a year? Whispering my financials to him. That was power. I was lost. I leaned back. No, you were greedy. You had everything. And you still wanted more. She bit her lip, then whispered, I hated how easy you made it all look. You were always ahead. Always untouchable. I wanted to win something, even if I had to cheat. It was the first honest thing she'd said in years. And it made everything worse. Because I realized something right then. She didn't love Logan, or me, or anyone. She loved the game. And when I stopped being the challenge, she moved on. You should leave the country, I said finally. While you can. Her eyes flickered. Is it that bad? You'll see. She leaned in, voice trembling. Did you ever really love me? I looked at her. The same eyes I once kissed every night before bed. The same lips that used to say, forever. And all I saw was a ghost of a life that never existed. More than I should have, I said. Less than you deserved. And with that, I walked away. As I stepped outside, rain started to fall. Fitting. This whole thing began with a splash. Logan throwing water on me like I was dirt under his shoe. Now they were drowning in what they created. Lies. Greed. Betrayal. And me? I wasn't healed. But I was clean. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. A month passed. Court hearings began. Logan showed up in a tailored suit, trying to look like a misunderstood genius. Sam arrived 2 days later, flanked by lawyers, sunglasses on, no ring. Her hair was flat, her face pale. The cameras still loved her, but the headlines didn't. I watched from a distance. Never testified. Never needed to. My fingerprints were nowhere near the fire. I'd built my world carefully, legally. They burned themselves. All I did was step aside and let the flames do the work. My firm kept moving forward. Profits up. Investors loyal. I even landed 2 new clients because of the scandal. People who respected the way I handled it. Cold, clean, silent. But none of that brought peace. It was a Tuesday night when I finally broke. I was home alone. No staff. No meetings. Just silence. I walked into the closet, pulled out an old box. Inside was a photo of Sam and me from our first trip to Florence. She was leaning on my shoulder, laughing, eyes full of something I thought was love. I stared at that photo for maybe an hour. Then I tore it in half. Not out of anger. Just finality. The picture was a lie, just like everything she told me. And I was done worshiping memories that weren't real. The next morning, I started therapy. Not the soft, candlelit, how do you feel type. No. I found an ex-Marine who ran sessions like drills. Told me straight, you've been betrayed. Now stop letting it define you. I didn't cry. I didn't vent. But I listened. And it helped. One evening, I got a call from Mitch. You're gonna want to hear this. He forwarded me a video. Logan, handcuffed, face bruised, yelling in the courthouse parking lot. Apparently, he'd tried to run. Didn't get far. One of his partners flipped and handed the feds everything. Sam? She flipped, too. Turned on Logan to save herself. Pled out for a lighter sentence. Named names, handed over files. It was textbook. Cold. Calculated. Exactly what she used to accuse me of being. She got community service, house arrest, some fines. Logan wasn't so lucky. 5 to 10. Minimum. The next week, I saw her name trending again. This time for a podcast interview. From banker to betrayed. Samantha Reed tells all. I clicked. I don't know why. Morbid curiosity, maybe. She was sitting in a studio, pretending to be reflective. Said she'd been used. Said she learned so much. Said she lost a good man and didn't realize what she had until it was gone. I paused the video right there. Because I knew it wasn't true. She didn't miss me. She missed who I was to her. A vault. A ladder. A damn insurance policy. And now that I was gone, she was scrambling to build sympathy. Good luck. I stood up, walked to the window, and looked out over the city. My city. For a long time, I had built my life around being the provider, the protector, the planner. I thought love meant shielding someone, building a fortress around them, making them feel safe. But Sam? She wanted to set the fortress on fire just to watch the light dance in her eyes. Now, I understood the difference between love and ownership, between trust and blindness, between loyalty and fear. I didn't need revenge anymore. I needed peace. And slowly, I was finding it. I started traveling again. Real travel. No board meetings. No presentations. Just quiet places. Mountains. Waterfalls. Forests. I left my phone off. I let go. One afternoon in Iceland, I met someone. Her name was Leah. She didn't ask what I did. Didn't care about my suits or portfolio. She just handed me a cup of coffee, smiled, and said, "You look like a guy who's been carrying a war on his back. You can set it down now." I didn't fall in love, not right away. But for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I had to look over my shoulder. And that was everything. 6 months later, the past finally stopped chasing me. Not because I forgot. You don't forget betrayal that deep. You just stop bleeding from it. But by the time fall rolled around, I could breathe without feeling like I was inhaling ash. Leah had become a constant. She didn't ask about Samantha, though she knew. The story was out there. Anyone with a working phone could Google it. But she never brought it up. Never looked at me with pity or curiosity. Just listened when I wanted to talk and stayed quiet when I didn't. There was one night I remember. We were in Norway, sitting on the porch of this small cottage overlooking a frozen lake. I'd made us dinner, something simple, pasta and wine. And after we ate, I told her the whole story. All of it. How it started. What she did. The lies. The deal. The water. The sting. The madness that followed. I told her everything. Not because I needed forgiveness, but because I needed to finally let it go without choking on it. When I finished, she didn't flinch. Didn't offer cliches or soft reassurances. She just said, "I'm sorry she tried to turn your heart into a weapon." And somehow, that hit harder than anything. Because that's exactly what Sam had done. She made me question myself, my instincts, my worth. She made me believe I wasn't enough. Not as a man, not as a lover, not as a partner. And when someone you trust feeds you that kind of poison long enough, you start to drink it voluntarily. But not anymore. I flew back to New York at the end of November to handle some paperwork. My firm was doing better than ever. We'd recovered and expanded. I'd delegated more, trusted more, and somehow, the world didn't fall apart. Funny how that works. That trip, I walked past the building where Sam and I first met. It was being remodeled. Whole new structure. New name. New glass. New owners. I stood there for a while. Not nostalgic. Not bitter. Just still. Then I turned and kept walking. The city didn't feel like a graveyard anymore. It felt like something alive again. Like a place I could build in, not just remember. One afternoon, I got a letter. From her. Not an email. A real letter. Handwritten. No return address. It was short. 3 lines. "Marcus, I hope you found peace. I still haven't." I didn't respond. I never would. Because peace isn't something you send back in a sealed envelope. You earn it. Every damn day. And I was earning mine. With every step forward. Every time I didn't look back. Every time I let Leah take my hand and lead me toward a moment that had nothing to do with boardrooms, betrayal, or broken vows. Sometimes I still wake up with that old ache. The one that whispers, "She lied to you. She used you. You were a fool." But that voice is quieter now. Drowned out by better sounds. Like laughter. Like wind. Like her voice telling me, "You're not that man anymore." And she's right. I'm not. I survived a storm I never saw coming. I lost someone I thought I couldn't live without, and found out I could. Stronger, smarter, sharper, not colder, just more aware. If you're reading this, and you've been burned like I was, if you're sitting alone wondering how someone you loved could turn on you like that, here's what I can tell you. You don't get answers. You get scars. But scars fade. And one day, you'll meet someone who sees them and doesn't flinch. Someone who doesn't need you to explain your pain, because they know pain too. And when that happens, you'll stop seeing your past as a story of betrayal, and start seeing it as the beginning of your rebirth. Spring came early the following year. Leah and I had moved into a place just outside the city, somewhere quiet, with big windows and a backyard that smelled like pine. I kept one foot in the business world, but the other was finally planted in something real, something human. I'd wake up to the sound of birds instead of email pings. No tension in my chest. No instinct to check security footage or refresh court documents. Just her, making coffee barefoot, humming a tune under her breath like she belonged there. Like I did too. I caught myself laughing more. Real laughter. Not that cold, corporate chuckle I used to fake at client dinners, but the kind that comes from somewhere you forgot even existed. That stupid, helpless kind of laugh you can't control. I hadn't felt that since long before Sam started pulling away. But healing isn't a straight line. There were still shadows. Like when I ran into one of Sam's old friends at a gala in Midtown. Her name was Becca, a sharp-tongued socialite who used to fawn over Sam like she was royalty. She cornered me near the bar, clutching a martini, leaning in too close. "She ruined you," she said, almost gleeful. "We all thought you'd be the one to wreck her. But she got you first." I didn't answer, just raised my glass, smiled politely. But that night, the old feelings came back. Not longing, not anger, disgust. Disgust at how long I stayed blind. How many signs I ignored. How many late meetings I brushed off. How many nights I rolled over and pretended not to notice how cold her back felt next to mine. Leah saw it in my face when I came home. She didn't press. She just took my hand, pulled me into the kitchen, and made me sit while she played some ridiculous French jazz album she knew I liked. Then she danced, terribly, on purpose, until I cracked a smile. That was her power. Where Sam used silence as punishment, Leah used it as peace. Where Sam used her body to manipulate, Leah used her heart to heal. One evening in June, I got a call from a blocked number. I almost didn't answer, but something in my gut told me to pick up. Marcus. Her voice. I hadn't heard it in months. "Sam." She was quiet. "Then, I'm leaving the country. I thought you should know." "Why?" I asked. "Because everything here reminds me of what I broke. What I lost. I've applied for work overseas. I don't expect anything from you. I just needed to say it out loud." I didn't speak. She sighed. "I ruined a good man. I don't need forgiveness. I hope you found someone who sees you." "I did," I said simply. A pause. "Good," she whispered. "You deserve that." Then the line went dead. I stood there for a long moment. Not sad. Not relieved. Just finished. That was the last time I ever heard from Samantha Reed. She vanished from the papers. Her podcast died quietly. No more scandals. No more noise. Just a fading shadow in the rearview mirror of my life. I thought closure would be a moment. A slam of a door. A dramatic speech. But it wasn't. It was the absence of weight. It was being able to hear a name, or pass by a memory, and not feel like I'd been stabbed. It was Leah resting her head on my chest, and me not tensing up when someone touched me. It was the simple act of living again. So what did I learn? That love without loyalty is theater. That no amount of beauty or brilliance can compensate for a heart that's rotting inside. That silence can tell more truth than 1,000 apologies. And that the man you become after heartbreak is the man you should have been all along. Not softer, but wiser. Not colder, just harder to fool. And now I live my life on my terms. No more saving people who wouldn't even slow down if I was the one drowning. No more building castles with people who only bring matches. Just quiet days, honest smiles, and the kind of love that doesn't need to be explained. That's enough for me. The last chapter of this story didn't come with fireworks. No grand announcements. No revenge encore. Just silence and peace. It's strange how healing sneaks up on you. Not like a wave, but more like a slow clearing of fog. One morning, you wake up and realize your chest doesn't feel tight anymore. You stop checking the time she used to come home. You pass that restaurant where she whispered lies over candlelight and feel nothing. and that nothing is everything. I married Leah last fall. It wasn't a big wedding, just a handful of people who actually knew us, who actually cared. We didn't exchange vows about eternity or perfection. We promised to show up for each other, even on the ugly days. Especially on the ugly days. When she walked toward me down that aisle, barefoot in the grass, smiling like the world hadn't already tried to break us both, I finally understood what real love looked like. It's not explosive. It's not dramatic. It's steady. It's kind. It doesn't need to conquer. It just stays. Sometimes, when I sit on the porch with Leah's head on my shoulder and the sun setting behind the trees, I think back to the man I used to be. The one who gave everything to someone who saw him as a stepping stone. The one who trusted too fast and doubted too late. He wasn't weak. He was just untested. But now I know. I know that betrayal doesn't define you. Your response to it does. I know that power without purpose is just ego. And I know that the real victory isn't in crushing the ones who broke you. It's in becoming someone they could never reach again. So if you're still in the fire, still trying to understand why someone you gave your heart to twisted it in their hands, hear this. You will survive. You will rebuild. And one day, you will love again. But not because you forgot what happened. Because you finally realized you deserved more than that mess in the first place. She became an investment banker. Her new husband threw water on me and mocked my worth. I canceled a $20 billion deal and watched their empire crumble. But in the end, none of that was the real win. The real win was getting my soul back.